They say, the fastest way to a man's heart is through his stomach. This is true for JiYoung and YiJeon, who went from enemies to lovers. Their meeting was fateful, eventful, and beyond their wildest dreams. YiHeon was determined to get his pound of flesh when released, but JiYoung's gochujang butter bibimbap didn't only set the king's tongue ablaze, but also ignited an ember deep in his heart. Still unconvinced, the king was determined to find her, to exact revenge. However, her sous vide cuisine sealed her fate. A taste of JiYoung's steak had the king's hands shaking, and the hairs on his body standing erect. The king literally saw fireworks. Tell me how he was supposed to let her go. There and then, he decided to spare her life, and bundle her to the palace with him. In case the first 2 meals had been a fluke, the king pulled a trick on JiYoung, putting her life on the line. She has to make a meal that will satisfy his taste buds, to save her life. JiYoung, already a renowned chef in the future, pulls a haute cuisine, with the deer the king had hunted the previous day. First, the king is mystified by the gourmet spread before him, with foreign names. However, a taste sends him to a field filled with deer. Each taste keeps taking him to the unknown, until the last bite reminded him of his late mother. Feeling his mother's warmth from JiYoung, the king refuses to let her go, even when his favorite consort is causing a ruckus at the door. Finally realizing that JiYoung is no ordinary woman, the king causes some heart palpitations, by slowly whispering in her ears, that he has chosen her. This was the beginning of their love story. At this point, JiYoung's food is almost close to his heart. This was why he made her the chief royal cook, but kept the suspense, by threatening to take her life, if she ever made the same meal twice. He practically broke protocol for her, as a female cook was not the norm in that era. And then, the pasta with salty clams. This instantly cured the king's fits, as JiYoung didn't only cook up a storm, but also warmed his heart with her words and presence. This eventually led to a moment that the series' lovers won't forget, as the king steals a kiss from her, in his drunken state. His vulnerability spoke to JiYoung and the viewers. Then the chicken soup. Wounded at heart, and having rejected his meal throughout the day, JiYoung decided to make a chicken soup to suit the king's stomach. This showed her growing care for the king. The king's delight became hers, as she watched him happily devour his meal. This put some spring in her steps, and a smile on the king's face, as his heart gradually started to beat for his chef. At this point, JiYoung and her delicious food are almost close to the king's heart. And then, the king's natchet sang with his slimy uncle. JiYoung's snowflake schnitzel transported both the king and his uncle to a realm of flavors, unleashing the gluttony in them. JiYoung couldn't be more pleased with their enjoyment of her food, but the reverse was the case for the betraying consort, Mok-ju. What was left was a loud belch after the meal. Prince Jaesun forgot his plans to dethrone the king in that moment, and his alliance with Mok-ju, becoming a total glutton for JiYoung's beef schnitzel. At this point, the king is totally smitten by JiYoung, her food, and her wisdom, so he keeps updating his journal, with her delicious delicacies. And of course, a change of heart, from murder to love. From wanting to skin her alive, to skinning anything or anyone, who dares to mean her harm. At this point, the king's heart is taken through his stomach, but he's yet to realize it. And JiYoung is pulling a K-pop dance in a Joseon era, with her drunken behind. And then comes the envoy with his greedy agenda. Who would have thought that JiYoung's black sesame macarons would elicit such reactions? It blew the main cook's socks off, and the envoy literally got blasted in a disco light of macarons. And the king? He couldn't be more pleased with his chef. He was so pleased that he fell into a trap by accepting a high-stakes cooking competition against his country, with JiYoung in the middle. And of course, with the king's heart on his sleeve, romance is bound to ensue, as he can hardly take his eyes off his chef. He literally left his palace to accompany her outside the palace. You can imagine the king's dismay upon seeing good JiYoung and his friend, Jae, looking good together. He abandoned good reason, given to him by his eunuch, and followed where JiYoung led. At this point, the king is so far gone in his love for his chef, JiYoung, that he'd take a cannon for her. He even gave her the cloth off his back, despite the chilly night. The king in love, literally. What's more, when Prince Jaesun's men swooped in to kill, the king protected JiYoung with everything in him. Not even a sword cut could stop him. He was serious when he said he had chosen her. The Ming era in the series was the most foodgasmic moment in the series. Despite the envoy's attempt to undermine JiYoung's culinary prowess, his face gives him away every time. JiYoung's rice wine beef bourguignon transported both the king and the envoy to a beautiful wilderness. The envoy couldn't believe his tongue. The Ming cooks didn't come to play either. Despite underhandedly stealing JiYoung's secret ingredient, their JiHeon set a fiery furnace in the king and the envoy's tongue, taking them through a fiery volcano that was as sweet as it was fiery. Bailong's temple dish had both the king and the envoy meditating, thinking they were Buddha's assistants. However, JiYoung's Peking duck catapulted them into the clouds, giving them a beautiful clashing blade dance that literally brought the envoy to tears. You would think this was game over, but no, the sneaky envoy had other plans. On the final round, JiYoung, wild ginseng-infused ogolji samjitang, made them see a magical phoenix, and had the viewers salivating for a taste. The envoy became childlike, imagining himself as an immortal riding a phoenix, as the warmth of the dish filled him with energy. And then, Wenli's gochujang took them to the galaxy, where sound is non-existent and only taste exists. At this point, both the king and the envoy have had an adventurous ride with Ming and Joseon dishes. If they were gentlemen, they would have simply shaken hands on it, and called it a day. But no, the greedy envoy wanted JiYoung. And the king had to teach him that she's his, and his alone. At this point, JiYoung is fully lounging at the king's heart. Her meals and wisdom, achieving what Mokju couldn't achieve for many years, the king's heart. The king's natjitsang with his stepbrother was the last JiYoung meal that he truly enjoyed, before all hell broke loose. The roasted whole ogolji was a delight for the little prince. However, at this point, the king's and JiYoung's hearts are fully bonded, determined to beat all odds, including time. It's no wonder food was still the tie that binds them in the future. Would you like a second season of Bon Appetit, Your Majesty? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this content, please give it a thumbs up, share it, subscribe, and turn on your notification bell for all things wonderfully K-drama. Thanks for watching, bye.